everybody, Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you for joining me today. This is the card that I've been making today. It's a nice little pop-up card. You open up on the inside and there is a little coffee cup with a nice little message. Now, you know, sometimes when you have an idea for a project and you start to make it and everything goes smoothly, it all works first time, everything's perfect. This was not one of those projects. I designed it, I started to make it, I filmed it, everything seemed to be fine until I went to edit my filming, and I found that I had dreadfully, and I do mean dreadfully, distorted sound. It just wasn't salvageable. So I thought about, well, shall I just do voiceovers over it? And in the end I thought, you know what, it's probably going to be easier for me to refilm most of it. So some of this is this actual card that I have in my hand here, and some of it is from the first version. Alright, so if you know the sleeves on my arms suddenly change colour, that is the reason why. Alright, so I'll go ahead and I will show you how I made these cards. Here are the things that I'm using to make the card. Card base is cherry cobbler and it is 4 inches, and I've just cut it to the whole length of the piece of A4. I've got 3 matting panels, and they are Pool Party, and they're 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. I've got some scraps for die cutting and stamping on, so I've got some crumb cake, I've got some very vanilla, I've got some cherry cobbler, and I've got a little bit of early espresso, and I've also got a long skinny bit of Pool Party. I'm going to use the Seaside embossing folder, stamps from A Good Day and from Timeless Textures. I have soft suede and crumb cake ink. I've got 3 punches. I've got the classic label, the 1 1/2 inch circle punch, and a 1 1/8 scalloped circle punch. I'm using the coffee cups thin nuts, and I'm going to be using some of these. These are the new pearlized doilies that are in the new annual catalogue. I'm going to score the cherry cobbler at 5 3/4, and then I'm going to flip the card round and I'm going to score it at 5 3/4 again, and that will give me a little spine to my card. If I can show you, and that will mean that I've got room for all of the extra card that's going to be inside it. I'm going to go over and do some die cutting in just a moment. So I'm going to need 2 of this cup shape in crumb cake and 1 in cherry cobbler, and I'm going to need 2 of this shape in cherry cobbler. I need 1 of these in crumb cake, and I'm going to need some of these as well. So I'm going to need 3 that are just cut out of my early espresso card, but 1 piece I'm going to cut on the fold. So I'm going to put my die up against the fold, but I'm not going to cut right the way through the fold. So what I'm hoping to have is a hinged piece when I've done my die cutting. So I'm going to go over to my Big Shot and I'm going to go and do that. And I'm back. Here are all my die cut pieces, and while I was over there I also ran 1 of my pieces of Pool Party through my embossing folder, and the 2 crumb cake cups. So I'm going to use these that way round so that the debossed side is in front. So now I'm going to start sticking things together. So here's what I've done. I punched out a pile of 1.5 inch circles out of the crumb cake, and I stamped on them with soft suede, and I've sponged them with crumb cake, and a couple of them I also took some bites out of them with the 1 1/8 of an inch circle punch to make it look like somebody'd been having a little bit of a nibble there. I also sponged the edges of the pool party panels and the front panel and on my coffee cups, and my pearlized doilies, which are absolutely gorgeous but aren't quite in keeping with the rest of the card, so I flipped them over, and on the back they're white, whisper white, so I sponged those with some crumb cake, you know, rather randomly. I wanted them to look antique. And the last bit of stamping that I did, I stamped the "Here's a Good Day" sentiment and "Just for You" from the Good Day stamp. So what I'm going to do with these now is I'm going to punch them out. So this one I'm using my classic label punch, and I'm just centering that up in the jaws of the punch, and I've drawn myself some extra guidelines on the back of this with a fine tip Sharpie so that I can see where the middle is. Okay, so I've got that, keep that on one side, and I'm going to do this again with a 1 1/8 of an inch scallop circle punch. Now it does mean I'm going to be chopping off the points of the, you know, the little, I don't know what you call them, sunbeams. Just put this in this way so I've got more control over it, and that's fine. Now, I'm just trying to line them up as far as I possibly can, and I'm pretty happy with that, so punch. It's turning into one of those days today. I'll repunch that one off screen. So I'm going to put this on the cup that is in the middle of my card. So I shall do that now before I start to assemble the pop-up bit. And if I line this carefully, it will fit on my coffee cup, just like that. So here is a long skinny strip of Pool Party. Now what I did originally was I just cut a strip about, what's that, about 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch, something like that, off the edge of the card, and then I folded it in half, fitted it over the top of my 2 coffee cups, and I left again something like about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch sticking out of the bottom. So now I'm going to stick this inside the cups. And where it sticks out at the bottom, I'm just folding those pieces over. Okay. So I wind up with something that looks a bit like that. Right, so onto the inside of my card, I'm going to just fit one of those up against the side for now, and I can't find a pencil, so I'll use my piercing tool because I just want to make a mark here. I'm going to make a scratch mark along that edge there. Alright, so I can see it, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side of the card, and again I'm going to put a scratch mark there. Right. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply liquid adhesive to the edges of my long skinny strips. At least I will if the adhesive wants to play games with me. Right, I'm making sure I've got this the right way up. So this is the front of the card, and I'm just going to line that up with that scratch I've made pretty much in the centre of my card. And I've got a little bit of wiggle room, just making sure I'm lined up with that scratch. Then over here on this side, I'm going to line this side up with the other scratch that I made. Okay, so when I look at it, I've got a little space in there, and that is what will help to make the pop-up happen. So now I'm going to go ahead and decorate the inside of the card, and I've been chopping up some of the doilies, and I've got my usual trick of sticking adhesive on the back of my hand, which I keep saying you mustn't do if you've got sensitive skin. Okay, if you've got sensitive skin and you do that, don't come crying to me. Okay, don't get in touch with me and say, well, you said to do this and now I've got nasty rash on the back of my hand. Okay, use your common sense. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to carry on and put bits of these where I think they're going to look good. And we'll fast forward through this bit and come back to it in a little while. There is the finished card, and I did go back and correctly punch out a sentiment for the front, and I changed it from just for you to just because on the original version, if I bring that back, that was the sentiment I used, and I think I was using Soft Sky here rather than Pool Party, but Soft Sky is going to be retiring, so I changed it to Pool Party, and yeah, I put in a few more doilies, and I think the biscuits inside are arranged slightly differently, but you know what? I like them both. So that is it for today. I do thank you very, very much for joining me. I thank you very, very much for staying with me to the end of this video, because I didn't think I was going to make it. But for now, thank you very much for joining me. Hope I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.